I never expected to find myself standing in Dorothy Bennett's hallway that autumn afternoon. But life has a way of presenting us with moments we never planned for. Moments that change everything. My name is Richard Coleman and I'm 58 years old. I've lived in the same neighborhood for 30 years. Raised my son David here after his mother passed when he was just 7. Now David's grown with a family of his own and I live alone in the house that holds so many memories. Dorothy moved in next door about 2 years ago. A widow like myself, we'd exchange pleasantries over the fence. She'd wave when she saw me getting the mail. That kind of neighborly kindness that makes a place feel like home. But we'd never been more than that. Just two people living separate lives side by side. That particular Tuesday started like any other. The leaves were turning those beautiful shades of gold and crimson. The kind of fall day that makes you grateful to be alive. I was working in my garage when I heard a sound. A soft voice calling out. "Hello, is anyone there?" I stepped outside and saw Dorothy's front door was slightly open. Her voice sounded weak, uncertain. Something in my chest tightened with concern. "Dorothy," I called out. "Everything all right, Richard?" "Oh, thank goodness. I hate to bother you but I'm afraid I need some help." I walked across our adjoining yards and approached her door. David had visited the day before to help me with some repairs. In his rush to leave, I must have forgotten to lock my door when I borrowed my ladder. But Dorothy's door was open now and she was asking for help. "I'm coming in," I said gently. The inside of her home was warm and inviting. Pictures of grandchildren lined the mantel. The scent of vanilla candles hung in the air. I found Dorothy in her kitchen sitting at the table with her hands folded in front of her. She looked embarrassed. "I'm so sorry to trouble you, Richard. I haven't eaten in 2 days. My daughter was supposed to bring groceries yesterday but her little one got sick and well. I didn't want to bother anyone. But I got a bit dizzy this morning and I'm afraid to drive." 2 days. This kind woman had gone 2 days without food and hadn't wanted to bother anyone. My heart broke a little. "Dorothy, you should have called me right away. We're neighbors. That's what neighbors do." She smiled but her eyes were teary. "I've always been independent. After Harold died I promised myself I wouldn't be a burden on anyone." I pulled out a chair and sat across from her. "You're not a burden. You're a person who needs help. We all need help sometimes. That's not weakness, Dorothy. That's just being human." I went back to my house and made 2 plates of the beef stew I'd cooked the night before. Nothing fancy but it was hot and filling. When I returned, Dorothy's eyes lit up in a way that made me realize how hungry she really was. We sat together at her kitchen table and ate slowly. She told me about her late husband Harold. How they'd run a small bookstore together for 40 years. How she missed the smell of old pages and the conversations with customers who became friends. I told her about my Helen. About how she'd loved to garden and how I still planted her favorite roses every spring even though I could barely tell a weed from a flower. "It's strange, isn't it?" Dorothy said softly. "How we spend our whole lives building something with someone. And then one day they're gone and you have to figure out how to be just yourself again." I nodded. "Strange and hard. But we figure it out. We keep going because that's what they would want." After we finished eating, I washed the dishes while Dorothy protested weakly that I didn't need to. Then I checked her refrigerator and pantry. They were nearly bare. "I'm going to the store," I said. "You make a list of what you need. Richard primero can't ask you to do that. You're not asking. I'm offering. There's a difference." At the grocery store I bought the items on her list plus a few extras. Fresh fruit, some good bread, coffee and tea, things I thought she might enjoy. When I returned, her eyes were wet with tears. "I don't know how to thank you," she said. "You don't need to thank me, Dorothy. But you do need to promise me something. Promise me that if you ever need help again you'll knock on my door or call me. Anytime, day or night. Promise me you won't wait until you're dizzy and weak. Can you do that?" She nodded and reached out to squeeze my hand. Her grip was stronger now after the food. "I promise." That was 6 months ago. Since then Dorothy and I have become dear friends. I check on her every morning. We take turns cooking dinner. Sometimes we just sit on her porch and watch the neighborhood kids ride their bikes. We talk about our spouses and our children and the lives we've lived. We laugh about getting older and all the surprises that come with it. Last week David came by and saw Dorothy and me working in her garden together. Pulled me aside later. Dad, you seem really happy lately. Happier than I've seen you in years. I thought about that. About how a door left unlocked and a neighbor in need had opened up something new in my life. Not a romance exactly, tough, I won't lie and say I haven't thought about it. But a companionship. A reminder that life isn't over just because we've reached a certain age or lost people we love. I am happy, I told David. I think I forgot for a while that happiness was still possible. But Dorothy reminded me, sometimes the best things in life come from the simplest acts of kindness. He hugged me then, my grown son who I'd raised alone. Mom would be proud of you, he whispered. And I think maybe she would be. Maybe Harold would be proud of Dorothy too. Because we didn't forget them or replace them. We just made room in our hearts for something new. For friendship and care and the quiet joy of not being alone. That's the thing about getting older. You learn that love comes in many forms. And sometimes the most important thing you can do is simply show up when someone needs you. Open your heart like an unlocked door. And let kindness lead the way.